After the September 11 attacks in 2001, the CIA opened a top-secret program to extract actionable intel from suspected terrorists. They dubbed it the Enhanced Interrogation Technique Program. But if we're calling a spade, it's basically glorified torture.
You're a mid-level guy. You're a garbage man in the corporation. What should I respect you, huh?
In fact, a lot of the CIA's interrogation techniques were revealed in a bombshell U.S. Senate report in 2014. Today, we're rounding up the 10 brutal interrogation techniques used by the CIA. What's up, Fecnatics? This is Discovery Amuse, serving up your daily dose of the most outrageous, outlandish, and out-of-this-world fun facts. Our top one entry is just so downright inhumane that you might question whether it's really a necessary evil. So stick around for that. Number 10. Wearing nappies. A Tunisian man named Latfi al-Arabi el-Gerisi, who was formerly detained by the CIA for 13 years, revealed in an interview in 2015 some of the gruesome methods he suffered at the hands of the agency, one of which was being made to wear nappies. The CIA claimed that the main purpose of this was to humiliate the prisoners in secret black sites and induce a sense of helplessness. One of the detainees said his diapers were fastened with thick tape that caused irritation. Even worse, they were only changed about every 4 days. Some would say that with these techniques, the CIA has lost its humanity in the process of trying to save it, but the agency maintains such methods don't constitute torture.
If it was torture, CIA would not have done it.
Keep watching till number 1, and you be the judge whether or not that interrogation technique crosses the line. Number 9, beating. You probably guessed that senseless beatings will be part of this list. The CIA report mentions facial holds, insult slaps, and attention grasps, which are all euphemisms for clobbering terror suspects until they practically get a glimpse of the entrance to the afterlife.
This one's a fighter.
Most prisoners say they were immediately subjected to this violence multiple times a day after their captivity. It was a seemingly endless cycle of being dragged to the verge of death and back again, all in the name of making them own up to past crimes and admit to planned strikes. One suspect said his skin was hanging off him by the time the officers were done with him for the day. Number 8, walling. The torture report also mentioned interrogators slamming prisoners against the wall, a process which they called walling.
I remember also them tying a cloth around my neck, and then they are punching me on the wall.
It was said that the concrete wall was erected so that officers can bash the detainees while they have a collar placed around their necks. Later on, a CIA officer said a plywood wall was immediately put up to replace the concrete. Not sure how much help that is. Critics also question if these brutal attacks even yielded actionable intel at all, or the victims just gave them false information just for all the torture to stop.
When the EITs were used, we would say to the person, we want information to stop operations. We know you don't have all of it, but you have some of it.
Number 7, hanging. A Pakistani man, mistaken to be a member of a group plotting against Washington, once shared his experience living inside a CIA cell for a year.
نجلس يعني هكذا اليدين الاثنين والقدم معهم قدم حتى قضاء البول يعني في مكانه.
The hanging sessions typically lasted up to an entire day, and the detainees' arms were chained above their heads to a bar at the top of the room. In some cases, they could still touch the ground with their feet, but others were lucky to even get their toes on it for some support.
There's a tether anchored to the ceiling in the center of the detention cell. The detainee has handcuffs, and they're attached to the tether in a way that they can't lie down or rest against the wall.
They were only taken down for interrogation and other forms of torture. This didn't mean a period of reprieve from beatings, though, as officials reportedly kept smashing them with a baton and even pouring cold water over their bare, naked bodies. Number 6. Hypothermia. A suspected Afghan militant reportedly died of hypothermia inside one of the CIA's black sites in 2002. He was left in a cold cell, stripped from the waist down and doused in water, ultimately ending his life. But this was not the only account of low temperatures and freezing water being utilized to torture suspected terrorists. A Tanzanian fisherman named Suleiman Abdullah Salim, who was detained in a secret CIA black site for 5 years, recounted how he repeatedly was doused in icy water while being grilled by officers. Afterwards, he was wrapped in plastic, naked, and kept enveloped in cold water for several minutes.
Guy, he put me water. He was beating me so much. After that, he took me to interview. The big light took me in the face. After that, he took me again to the water.
Number 5. Waterboarding. Perhaps the most talked about interrogation tactic the CIA admitted to using on detained suspects, waterboarding involves pouring water over a person's face while covered with a cloth to mimic the sensation of drowning. When Vanity Fair writer Christopher Hitchens accepted the challenge of getting waterboarded, he confirmed how the experience of breathing water could easily break someone.
Everything completely goes on you when you're breathing water. You can't think about anything else.
If one time is already excruciating, imagine being subjected to waterboarding multiple times. 9/11 suspect Abu Zubaydah, who was captured in 2002 and is currently held in the Guantanamo Bay detention camp in Cuba, testified about the various interrogation tactics he had to endure, including being waterboarded 83 times.
Abu Zubaydah, repeatedly waterboarded, became completely unresponsive, with bubbles rising through his open, full mouth.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, said to be the principal architect of the 9/11 attacks, was also subjected to waterboarding 183 times. Aside from using cold water, the suspects were sometimes strapped to a tilted board with their legs placed above their head. The process was carried out for about 40 seconds. It was known to have been repeated sometimes during interrogation.
I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it's the wrong thing to do. I think you can do it in a way that it constitutes torture. I think you can do it in a way that it constitutes training.
Number 4. Mock execution. The top-secret internal CIA report finally released in 2009 also exposed how CIA interrogators played mind games with detainees by way of mock executions. Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri, the alleged mastermind behind the attack on the U.S. destroyer Cole, said that he was confronted with a gun and a power drill to make him spill the beans.
CIA interrogators, whether they're contractors or CIA staff officers, brandished a gun in front of this guy in an effort to frighten him, and also took a power drill in front of him and turned it on and went bzzz, implying therefore that they're going to use it on him.
Interrogators would pretend to kill another prisoner in a separate cell, hoping the gunshot would be the trigger for a confession. Officers also threatened harm to family members, with one saying he would sexually abuse a detainee's mother. In another case, an interrogator placed a pistol and operated a cordless drill near a suspect's head. At the same time, the latter was blindfolded to mess with his brain. Number 3. Confinement. You might think confinement is pretty standard for prisoners all over the world, but the CIA took this method to another level. Their torture tactics put subjects inside blackout boxes the size of small dog crates with a width of merely 21 inches and a depth and height of 2.5 feet. In 2015, BBC reporter Hilary Anderson tried to experience firsthand how it feels to be caged inside one of these blackout boxes.
It's so stuffy in here, I can hardly breathe. All stop, stop, let me out of here, all stop. Oh, 3, all stop, all stop, all stop.
Al-Qaeda operative Abu Zubaydah reportedly spent 29 hours in that insanely small space. He was also confined in a coffin-shaped box for 11 days and 2 hours in what was referred to as the aggressive interrogation phase. Number 2. Sleep deprivation. Some CIA detainees were allegedly forced to be awake for up to 180 hours or 7.5 days, all while shackled at the wrists and standing on their feet. It was made even worse by auditory overload, total darkness, and isolation.
You can lose your sense of self within 36 hours. It's really fast, and it's really awful. And the theory is that by doing that you make someone more malleable, and that's all cockamamie.
The CIA officers would repeatedly beat them up to make sure they didn't wander off into dreamland. And since we're on the topic of deprivation, the detainees had restricted diets thought to increase the other technique's effectiveness. This meant making them eat only bland, liquid meals instead of normal food. Before we go to our #1 pick, do us a solid and make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to choose all so you won't miss out on any of our latest life-changing, boredom-busting content. And of course, be sure to turn on notifications in your app settings. #1, rectal feeding.
At least 5 detainees were hydrated or fed through a tube inserted into the colon to give the interrogator, quote, total control over the detainee.
One detainee had his lunch pureed and poured into his rectum. He eventually attempted to cut his wrist, chew into his arm, and cut a vein in his foot.
Yes, it is exactly as disgusting and inhumane as it sounds. At least 5 detainees allegedly got this lunch tray of pureed food infused straight into their bums by CIA operatives. Rectal feeding, or nutrient enema, was given to prisoners who attempted hunger strikes. In many instances, the officers also shoved water to the suspect's backside to hijack their resistance to food and water intake. According to CIA records, at least 1 detainee suffered from anal fissures and chronic hemorrhoids due to these forced rectal infusions. So, which of these torture tactics made your stomach turn? Let us know in the comments section below. Take home any of our exclusive gear by browsing our merch shelf or clicking the link in the video description, and while you're at it, take our quiz to find out how you can earn extra cash online doing what you do best. Awesome, right? Want more tales from the dark side? Then don't miss our list of the 9 most gruesome crimes that were never solved. Till then, stay compassionate, Factnatics, and see you in our next video.